I'm back.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. Happy Friday to all those that celebrate. And we are live from beautiful, lovely downtown Phoenix at PHNX HQ2. I am Damon Farrell. She, of course, is the great Erica Day. We have her in studio today, blessed with the presence of Erica Day. Erica, how are we living on a Friday?
Dude, just because Kevin's ignoring me, and avoiding me, ducking the smoke, if you will, I'm feeling a little extra jazzed on this fine Friday, since it's just you and I, we get to have like even more hater energy than ever. I feel like shows that are just us two, we really get to be ourselves, and I'm not saying Kevin brings us down. I'm just saying Kevin forces positivity upon us and sometimes we don't want it. So I'm excited.
Kevin, absolutely. And you know what Kevin does is, like, I'll get on like a nice little tangent as Eric Ruby destroys our camera from the PHNX Sun Devil show, taking over our pod from the inside. I mean, that was disgusting. I don't go on the PHNX Sun Devil show and start, turning off the camera and back on and everything. Egregious behavior. But we are thrilled to be here, Erica. We got a lot to talk about today. And of course, we do have some hate we got to get off. But you're so right. Whenever Kevin Thomas is here, like, you can feel Kevin when I'm like going off on a tangent, like about to like go after somebody. You can just feel Kevin squirming in this chair that I'm sitting in right here, where he's just like, could we maybe move on to loving each other and all being friends?
Kevin is the definition of the power of friendship. I know that you guys talk about that a lot on D-backs and whatnot, but Kevin just really thinks that friendship cures all. Which, is he wrong? Maybe not. Maybe we could take a lesson out of Kevin's book, but I feel like, the energy that we have is just palpable. I mean, like I said, we get to hate at the maximum amount today. And so I feel like the chatters will love it. Wildcats fans will love it. They're really getting like the real, true, unrestricted and raw Erica and Damon. So you guys are the ones that are hashtag blessed, not us.
But will we later in the show have something that we disagree on, Erica? Because I'm feeling like I might have a little bit of a sickness coming down. And we'll get into that later in the show. But first, we did want to talk about Oscar Rios, 4-star quarterback, who will be making his decision tonight at 7 p.m. at his high school, Downey High School, which is a suburb in Los Angeles. And he will be deciding between his hometown UCLA Bruins and the Arizona Wildcats. Words can't really state how massive this commitment would be for Brent, Brennan, and staff. I mean, UCLA has a lot of highly recruited and highly rated quarterbacks in their room right now. They just obviously got the, very notable transfer of Nico Iamaleava. They got his brother along with it in Madden Iamaleava, who is a 4-star QB in his own right. And yet I believe they also have another pretty highly touted recruit that Saul Bookman and I talked about yesterday. At Arizona, though, things are a little bit more open. You, of course, have Noah Fafita under center, and he's been the long-term starter. You expect him to probably be back next season to play with his brother Dash, who will be a freshman next season. But what's the succession plan after that? And I think Oscar Rios and his timeline in particular fits in seamlessly with Arizona, where he can kind of redshirt in that true freshman season, sit behind Noah Fafita. Most likely he would suit up and be that true backup in case there was, knock on wood, a Fafita injury. But most likely is going to play less than the 4-game threshold and maybe try to sit out a season. And I just feel like that fit is so perfect for Arizona football. And that's why Oscar Rios has got to be such a priority for this program.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, there has to be a good plan in place for once Noah Fafita leaves. I saw a list the other day that has him as the 4th best quarterback in Arizona sports history, and we can talk about that at a later date, maybe. But
Arizona Wildcats history.
Yeah, and I think he was fourth, but he has been a really good quarterback for us. Obviously, the results last year weren't what Arizona fans wanted, but at the same time, he's been a dependable quarterback that the fan base has been able to get behind regardless of the win and loss record. And so I think you need someone that's going to be able to get the fan base to buy in, and Oscar Rios is a perfect person for that. 4-star recruit. I mean, like, he's top 10. You and I were talking about in the pre-show. Like, he's a perfect person to bring more notoriety back to the program. He would absolutely make Brennan look really good in terms of the recruiting class. So I think, it's definitely an important priority for this program right now. And I think once the answer is had, whether he's going to UCLA or Arizona, then Brennan can start making moves to build around him for the future. And I think that that's really important as well. So I need them to get the commitment quickly. And if it doesn't happen for us, then I need them to have a replacement for him lined up really quick.
Yeah. I just remembered who that other quarterback was that I was thinking of. It's Pierce Clarkson, who committed to Louisville, went to St. John Bosco from the area. Dad, a big-time quarterback coach, Steve Clarkson, in the area. And, I'd assume that kid isn't transferring to go to a place that he's just going to be a backup for the rest of his career. So UCLA has some pretty high pedigree recruit quarterbacks in the room. And I just think that from Oscar Rios' perspective and from a quarterback perspective in college football, a lot of these guys, we see so much quarterback movement in the transfer portal, in particular because these guys are looking for opportunity for playing time. And I just, UCLA is a place that constantly is going to over-recruit you at quarterback in particular because it's such a hot bed of talent in that area. A lot of players want to come play there. And I just detailed it, right? They have basically a 4 or a 5-star recruit in every class, from senior down to freshman on their roster. Yesterday, we talked about Robert McDaniel, who flipped his commitment from Arizona to UCLA on signing day. He's already gone. He's already transferred to San Jose State, which is kind of a little bit of a mind twister, ends up at Brent Brennan's old stomping grounds after flipping his commitment from Brent Brennan's team. But it's like that just goes to show that Robert McDaniel was a very highly rated kid, rising prospect. Did really well at the Elite 11, even though he was like the last kid invited and I believe made the final cut, which was a great story. And then ultimately ends up going to San Jose State because he could have been the quarterback of the future at Arizona, but UCLA over recruits him multiple times and threw over with the Iamaleavas, both of them coming in. So I just think that the writing is on the wall if you're Oscar Rios. Like, you can either be the guy or you can be one of the guys. And it's your decision what you want to make. And I know that, like, obviously they're not paying me to recruit for this football program, but it just makes too much sense in my opinion. You look at the recruiting pitches that both these schools used, and Erica, you can tell me which one that you prefer. Because one maybe means a little bit more, but the other one is pretty damn cool, actually. Apparently, Adam Sandler showed up on UCLA's campus during the UCLA visit for Oscar Rios just to kind of be like, look at all the star power. Look at what we got going on in LA. Even though he's from LA, I just
need to say that this feels like a shot at Tucson entirely because, Adam Sandler is a staple of the town.
That is true.
And it's actually egregious that they thought no one would notice.
We
that
can
they
get Adam Sandler on campus.
Adam Sandler out from under us as if he didn't come to Arizona basketball shoot around literally less than 6 months ago. So actually, was that this year? I think it was this year.
It was this year, yeah.
So, miss me with that. I think personally, listen, star power, you want to talk about star power, Damon Dog? LeBron James is about to be walking and talking on the University of Arizona's campus. You want to talk about star power? I think Arizona's got it all right where they want them. So, playing time is a great...
Oprah has a house in Tucson. We got all the stars.
I hear Taylor Swift comes through often, there's a lot of opportunity here. But I was doing some digging this morning. You told me we were going to talk about this on the show today. And I just had to tell you, the one comment, I walked away laughing out loud. Is it... Elite 11 analyst Brandon Huffman says that Mr. Rios has the prettiest deep balls in the class. And I needed to say that word out loud because I can't believe that professional analysts are allowed to say those words and I'm not. So I had to make sure we get him out because
when you say it, it's wrong and HR wants to talk to you, but when Brandon Huffman says it, it's analysis.
Fine. Exactly. And so I'm an analyst now. So, I can't wait to see the deep ball, the prettiest deep balls in the class. Like, what the heck? This is just egregious.
Yeah. I mean, I listen, you look at some of the traits of Oscar Rios, you talk about the deep balls, and obviously we're tongue in cheek about it, but if he has that ability, that deep passing ability, and he's considered one of the better dual threat quarterbacks in his class as well. I mean, that's a toolsy player, man. And he definitely has a very, very thin frame that he's going to need to work on. That's part of the reason why sitting for 1 year with Noah Fafita as your quarterback could be massive for an Oscar Rios, because he gets that year to fill out that frame a little bit more. He's 6'3", but he is really pretty frail. Almost Jaden Daniels-esque in that way, just like the size of his body. But yeah, I mean, it's just I think, this is such a massive moment for this program. Oh yeah. I mean, it's like with Adam, in regards to the Adam Sandler discussion, we could get Adam Sandler on campus if we wanted to your point, Erica, but the Wildcats, I guess, have been very much going in on targeting his Mexican roots as a big portion of trying to get him in Tucson, trying to use the community and the culture of the city to get him to buy in on being the leader of this program. And it is pretty cool, actually, when you think about it. Like, there hasn't really been a big, I don't think that there's really ever been a big time Mexican player in Arizona football history that I can think of off the top of my head, or at least one in recent years. So yeah, it would be pretty cool to have like the guy, the face of the program, being a Mexican American kid in Tucson. I think that could be just a cool, little marketing play for the football program as well. But the
ASU show is man. They're on our show today.
This wasn't ASU. This was head of production chain.
Sure. Did you see what Eric Ruby did? No. He starts adjusting Erica's camera, flickering on and off. It's gotta be worse. It was sabotage, is what I like to call it. But yeah, hopefully no sabotage going on when it comes to Oscar Rios and his commitment today. Like I said, 7 p.m., Downey High School. It's when he'll be committing. We'll, of course, be live tweeting it here at PHNX_Wildcats, so make sure you throw that account a follow. And, of course, we'll be talking about it all day long. But, yeah, it could be just a massive play for this program. And in particular, one thing that we've discussed ad nauseum on this show, but I just talked about it with Saul Bookman yesterday, is just that there's so much to be said about getting that face of the program, that new face of the program in the building. People gravitate and players gravitate towards high-level quarterbacks. They want to feel like their leader and their face of their program is a guy that they believe in and a guy that they believe can take their program and win football games with it. And I just think that Oscar Rios is the start of that for this new era of Arizona football under Brent Brennan, which is like, obviously, we got to scrap last year, erase it, flush it, as Tori Lavello likes to say. But like, approach this as an entirely new year. I guess don't totally flush it, because you got to remember how embarrassing that was and use that to help drive you to be better. But I think that this is such a massive, important key in towards trying to change the trajectory of this football program, and it starts with this commitment today.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to have a vision to sell everyone around the quarterback. And so the quarterback is the most important piece in that. And so Brent Brennan needs to get the piece in place quickly. And to your point, Oscar Rios is about as good of a piece as you're going to get in the position at this point in the recruiting cycle. And so, if, to my earlier point, if
top uncommitted guy, or actually second uncommitted guy after Landon Duckworth, who seems to be between South Carolina and Ole Miss.
We don't want that guy anyways. I hear Oscar Rios is better. That's what the breakdown told me today anyways, that I did my due diligence with prior to the show. Shout out to Glenn for joining us in the comments. I want to give a special shout out to him for joining not only the Wing Show today, but also the Wildcat Show. I know that's against your will, Glenn, to watch people talk about talented basketball teams, maybe even a decent football team.
Well, Glenn doesn't like basketball. He's made that very clear.
Glenn told me that Glenn had a lot of facts about the WNBA in that chat that I was just in, and I'm not going to say I'm a believer that Glenn is a WNBA guy, but dang, I'm a little impressed, Glenn. So maybe he does like basketball. He just doesn't like to watch his own team lose.
Fair enough, Glenn. Please drop a like on this video, even though you're an ASU guy. Helps us out so much. If you're here watching, drop a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But another interesting part of this is the Big 12 has kind of been given the moniker of quarterback conference right now, with just all of the talent from top to bottom. From a quarterback standpoint, every list you look at, Noah Fafita is like 10th out of 16 teams, 16 quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks, which is, maybe is he being underrated slightly? We'll see going into next season, but I think it just goes to show the depth in this conference at the quarterback position. You add in Keyshawn Henderson, who's the number 2 quarterback in the country, who's going to Houston, 5-star recruit. Ryder Lyons commits to BYU earlier this week, which was a big-time commitment. And then you have Jake Fetty, who's committed to ASU, and Oscar Rios, who's hopefully following that up and making that the 4th quarterback out of the top 10 quarterbacks in the country committing to a Big 12 team. Would be pretty cool to see. And hopefully he just doesn't go to UCLA, because we hate UCLA. But that's going to wrap up our Oscar Rios discussion. Like I said, we'll be covering it all day, all night long. Whatever he decides, we'll be covering it. So stay tuned. Lock in on PHNX Sports on YouTube. Lock in on PHNX_Wildcats. Erica, we're going to talk a little bit about Tobe Awaka and his comments that he made to us when we interviewed him earlier in the week. Kind of talked about something that maybe you had your eye on throughout the course of the season, and we're going to do that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. But first, guys, I want to talk to you about our friends at Empire Today. I love Empire Today, mostly because they keep this flooring that we have, that Erica is sitting on right now, pristine, in the absolute tip-top of shape. We are absolute savages in this office, and we will find a way to destroy something if it can be destroyed. I'll tell you what, this Empire Today flooring doesn't have a scuff on it because it is the highest quality product that you could find out there. They love flooring. They eat flooring, sleep it, breathe it, you name it, man. They bleed flooring. Empire Today is all about the flooring. This isn't a place where you show up and it's just one of the things they do. This is what they love. And with their virtual floor designer, they're gonna show up in your house, take a picture of that room, and show you what that flooring that you're looking at is gonna look like in that room before you make such a massive purchase, before you do something that you regret. That's why Empire Today is our number 1 choice when it comes to getting new flooring. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. Some things are just better at home, guys. And with our promo code PHNX, you can save $350 off that purchase on that new flooring. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today /PHNX for full details. Another great company that we talk about all the time on here is Circle K. Erica, I know you're not on screen right now, but did you take advantage of the fuel day yesterday at Circle K?
Of course I did, and I told literally everybody I know. Everyone knows I take a screenshot, and I mass text it to literally everybody I know so that they can get the 40 cents off fuel too. Like, it's not just me. Everybody deserves it.
Yeah, Erica is a Circle K queen. I'm a Circle K king. We are both members of the Inner Circle, which means that when we first signed up, we saved 25 cents off per gallon on our first 5 fill-ups. After that, we saved 3 cents off per gallon every time we fill up at the tank when we insert that Inner Circle phone number, until we became premium members. And now we save 5 cents off per gallon every time we fill up. It is such a great deal. It is so easy to sign up. It takes 3 seconds. You put in an email, you choose a password, and you're done. Just download the app today. The Circle K app, sign up for the Inner Circle. If you're not doing it, you just hate money. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Pretty sure that might have been like an on the money 2-minute ad read.
You
which
killed
is,
that. Slayed the house down boots.
Professional podcast over here. But Erica, we did talk to Tobe Awaka earlier in the week. Don't know if you got a chance to catch our interview with Tobe Awaka, but I felt like it was a great interview. Obviously, I keep trying to get everybody within the basketball program to name their favorite incoming player that they want to play with, and everybody just keeps being very professional, media trained, smart about their answers, and being like, everybody really. And then they go and they wax poetically about all the newcomers. But I just want someone to just be like, Koa Pete. I want to play with Koa Pete, and just so I have that clip. Is that too much to ask for?
No, it's not. But you guys did slay the interview. And I mean, Tobe Awaka, I'm going to say it. Dude's a future star on the mic. He was really dropping just dime after dime after dime. And so, yeah, I was watching live. Y'all killed it. He killed it. And he seemed very very excited that this team that they have in this upcoming season is better than the season that they just had, which, I mean, they just lost to Duke in I want to say it was Elite Eight. Am I right? Because nothing excites Damon less than a Sweet 16 game. So I feel like it had to have been an Elite Eight. But so much has happened since then. But, so I think, if he's confident that this team is going to be better than it was last year, who am I to tell Tobe Awaka he's wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that this team is more talented
offense,
than it
playmaking
was last year. As unfortunately, Toby speaks over top of me right there for a half second because I made a mistake technologically. But yeah, I mean, it feels like that this program is in a better place from a ceiling perspective going into next year. When you just think about the fact that last year, they were a very gritty team. They were obviously the Gritty Boys, which was, I felt, a very apt moniker for the team. But at the same time, they weren't the most talented of teams, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think that they were a team that you look at typically and think to yourself, like, wow, there's a lot of blue chip elite level talent on that roster. And Carter Bryant, it's almost portrayed in the fact that Carter Bryant is the blue chip prospect from an NBA standpoint on the team. He might have been the 8th man, like literally the 8th man on the team. When you think about the fact that KJ Lewis was most likely the first bench player to go into the game, Henry Vasar probably number 2, and Carter was number 3. And maybe Henry Vasar has first round capabilities later, after we'll see how he develops at North Carolina. I don't trust Hubert Davis, but I just feel like this team actually has lottery talent that is going to be playing a prominent role, more so than what Carter Bryant did this past season. And yeah, I believe in Koa Pete and Braden Burries and their ability to take this team up a notch, if that makes sense.
Well, and the one thing I'm super optimistic about is that Tommy is going to have to give the incoming players a lot longer of a leash this year. With Carter, the leash was very short. If there were mistakes being made, then he kind of got yanked pretty quickly. And a ton of Arizona fans were really frustrated by that, rightfully so at times. But I feel like Tommy's hand is going to be a little bit forced with this roster build because he's going to have Braden Burries, he's going to have Koa Pete, both likely in the starting lineup. He's going to have to give them a little bit of a leash and kind of let them make mistakes. So I think the product on the floor is going to look a lot different, but it's going to feel a lot more inspiring come like March when meaningful basketball is being played. They're going to peak at the right time because they're going to get an opportunity to make mistakes. And, I think Koa Pete and Braden Burries are a huge part of that. I'm sorry that Tobe Awaka wouldn't just give you one of those players' names. I feel like that he is doing you a little bit dirty right there, but maybe another player. Maybe like Delhi will give you someone.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is, it's not just Tobe though. Like when we had Brandon Chappelle on the show, friend of the program, Brandon Chappelle, friend of mine. I obviously met him out at Section 7 again in person, but he told us the same thing. I was like, what's one particular player that you're most excited to coach? You know what would be an ideal answer, which I actually probably would most want to hear in that question being answered or asked, is Dwayne Aristode. I would love for one of them to come back with Dwayne Aristode. Man, that guy is being underrated. That guy is so much better than what his ranking is. People forget because he sat out most of last season and because he's rated slightly lower than Braden Burries and Koa Pete. So it just kind of flies under the radar. Plus, Bryce James is in the class, which he's obviously going to command headlines as well. So it just feels like Dwayne Aristode is the forgotten man. And I just want someone so bad to just tell me, yes, Damon, that Dwayne Aristode is the guy that I'm most excited to see next season. But
and like Bryce James is going to be a project kid for probably 2 years, I would think. But with Dwayne Aristode, like, he's going to come in and make an immediate impact, and everyone on the floor is going to feel it. And I feel like especially Tobe Awaka, actually. And so to your point, I feel like it's, probably an answer you do seek is that you want him to be excited to play in the post with someone like Dwayne Aristode. So I think this team is really coming together, and I hate that Tommy's away coaching Team USA, but I also love it for our own personal future recruiting needs. So it's definitely a double-edged sword, but I'm definitely hopeful that hopefully this interview we play right now, this clip of Tobe Awaka, tells you why the spacing should be just so much better on the Arizona Wildcats. I mean, just incrementally improved because Tobe Awaka is going to be doing things we ain't never seen before.
I would just say connecting the offense, playmaking. When guys get stuck, JB's trying to organize the offense, sort of being that release for him, swinging the ball to the other side, getting the offense flowing, things like that. And then obviously spacing the floor and shooting, being able to do that. Because, with a guy like Big Mo, Koa, those guys like to operate in the paint as well. So, obviously, if we're playing together, being able to space the floor is going to help a lot.
One thing about that answer that I love so much is just the fact that Tobe Awaka is clearly such a team player, and Kevin said it best. I felt like when he answered the question, or when he asked the question about like what is it like to not necessarily be the star of your team, but be a star in your role and do your role to the absolute best of your ability at an elite level, right? Like when you think of Tobe Awaka, you think rebounding. That's the first thing you think of because he is probably, top 5, if not the single best rebounder in the entire country at a 6'8" frame. You know what I mean? Which is highly, highly impressive. But as he says, like the things that he can do to complement the players on the floor around him better are playmaking and stretching the floor. Probably being like somewhat of a pick and pop threat, being able to run that pick and pop a little bit. But like, I just think that Tobe Awaka is such a winning type of basketball player when you have a guy who isn't necessarily in it for the personal glory, the personal accolades, but he's just like, what can I do, coach, to, make this team flow better? And obviously he's been told from that standpoint, it's passing and it's spacing. And if he can add those two things to his game, even get incrementally better at them, where they just have to respect that 3-point shot, I think it just opens up his ability to play with every single person on the entire team, as he mentions with playing with Koa Pete and playing with Mo Krivas.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw him do it in practice a couple different times last year. The dude can shoot. It's just, I think, a confidence thing with him in particular. His position doesn't traditionally, shoot a bunch of threes or anything like that, but he has a lot of fun out there. And when he's having fun, he sees great success. And to Damon's point, he's always willing to do exactly what the team needs. And right now, he understands that means he needs to get better at shooting and passing. His distribution last year wasn't bad, but the landscape of the roster is going to look so much different this year. You don't have the shot creator in Caleb Love that you had last season. That it just doesn't exist anymore. So it's going to be a much more, at least in my opinion, a systemic style of basketball that we're going to see. There's going to be a lot more passing, a lot less ISO ball, I guess, at least in my dreamland. But, hopefully that leads to top of the key. I see Edgar Ortiz talking about it right now, but top of the key passing as a trailing big is going to be the key for this team. So I think Tobe Awaka is a huge piece in that. I don't know exactly if his role will be the same as it was last year, being that he was starting last year and there's just so many new pieces coming in. But I think his role will stay the same, even if it looks a little different on paper.
Yeah. You mentioned about the ISO ball. Do you think that was just more of a factor of the players that Tommy Lloyd had at his disposal, or do you think that was more of what Tommy wanted to change to running? I mean, it seems like you answered the question right there with your nod.
No, I absolutely think ISO ball is a product of the roster that was constructed last year, and maybe the one thing that sticks out that's not that is Delly, because I didn't think that Delly was able to create a shot to save his life. But outside of him, most of the guards were pretty capable of doing that on their own. So there wasn't a lot of open passing in the open floor, but I think that that's going to change a lot this year. And Toby talked about it in your interview with him. He talked about Tommy being an offensive genius.
Yes.
And that, no offense, but that doesn't really include that much ISO ball. So I'm excited to see Tommy without Caleb Love, because while I've been we're, as Arizona fans, we've been blessed with Caleb Love, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I would take Caleb Love 10 years in an Arizona uniform if we could, but unfortunately that's not the way the cookie crumbles. And so, but I think that you're going to be kind of forced to see a true Tommy Lloyd style of basketball. And so I'm excited to see what exactly that is after 2 years of ISO ball with or without Caleb Love.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that. I mean, even a guy like to a lesser extent, like a KJ Lewis, I felt like there were a lot of times where he just kind of put his head down and just was like, I'm attacking the basket or I'm taking this mid-range jumper. And it wasn't as if it was like from a free-flowing kind of opportunity. And I think, part of that is what was concerning about a guy like Carter Bryant from an NBA standpoint is like they did run a ton of ISO sets last year and he still didn't really get an opportunity to showcase that, which is obviously his downside. And we'll talk about, I want to get your thoughts on Carter, the NBA draft, and Caleb Love's landing spot after last night later in the next segment. But it's just, I felt like, there was too much ISO ball last season. It wasn't necessarily the best of offenses. It was probably the worst offense we've seen in the Tommy Lloyd era by a significant margin. But with that came defense at the same time, because this team was very athletic last season. They had a ton of verticality. They ran the floor extremely well. They were great in transition, as we've talked about a lot. And I feel like that was just a situation where, they fit their style to the players that they had at their disposal. And now next season, you almost have the best of both worlds, where you have that upper echelon level athleticism that like a Koa Pete and a Braden Burries bring to the table. That's why they're 5-star recruits. But on top of that, you add their skill as well. And, maybe you can hopefully mold that to fit into a better offensive system rather than having to just rely on Caleb Love hitting tough shot after tough shot when things were just not flowing properly on offense. But David here in the chat, can't wait for the Caleb Love talk. Hyped, absolutely pumped about his Portland Trailblazers landing Caleb Love. Erica, we'll talk a little bit of NBA draft, and we'll do that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats pod. But before we do, we need to talk about Pure Edibles. Guys, we talked about Circle K earlier. Is there a better combo in the world than Pure Edibles and Circle K? I mean, pop a Pure Edible, head on over, grab some snacks. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And Pure Edibles is just great stuff. They have their packages that look like the Starburst gummies. They of course have their caramel chews, which taste just like the type of caramel chew that you would get for yourself at a candy store. And here's the thing, though, it's lined with CBD, CBN, CBG, THC, and it is going to make you feel right, guys. So head on over to Pure Edibles. It's an Arizona company. They do their stuff out of Flagstaff, Arizona, at the Noble Herb Dispensary, which is of course the home of Pure Edibles. And it's a local company. Support local, support people that support us, and help out our friends at Pure Edibles. Go find yourself some Pure Edible products from one of over 130 dispensaries across the great state of Arizona. They're designed to be ripped or bit in half, and they're easily shareable. So head on over, grab yourself some Pure Edibles, try out the Kicks gummies, and gonna want to get in on that. Another thing you're gonna want to get in on is Wendy's. We've been doing our Frosties, our Frosty cold takes the last couple days here. Wendy's Frosty Shop has a whole new twist on classic Frosty flavors. So, we're used to the vanilla, we're used to the chocolate. They've even added strawberry and maybe some limited edition flavors over the years. But now these aren't even limited edition anymore. This is just what they got going on. They added all new flavors to their Frosty Shop: Oreo brownie, caramel crunch, Pop-Tart strawberry. I am myself a strawberry swirl girl, Erica. I don't know if you knew that, but that's just who I am. I don't apologize for it. They got they got all the different types of creations. So whatever type of flavor that you're craving, anyway, whatever flavor you're craving, odds are we got a Frosty for it. So clock in for your sweet treat time anytime, including midnight or later, with Wendy's all new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic, gotta be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location.
I'm kind of mad. Can I say that? Because I've been in here like 3 weeks in a row.
And no Frosties
and no
when you make
dang Frosties.
Yeah.
And so, Max, if you are listening to this, I'm going to blame you. You're 100% at fault here. This is ridiculous. Egregious. This is the second thing I've called egregious on this show, but by far the most egregious. I know I've got bad takes somewhere, so he's just biting himself in the foot by not getting my Frosty takes,
Yeah. I'm not sure you've ever been.
Dude, I said that Arizona women's basketball was going to be 5th in the Big 12 last year. You think I forget?
Would they finish like 10th?
Literally horrible. I don't know, don't want to know. It's out of sight, out of mind, it's a new team, new season. The only person that's remaining is Montea Dew. And a quick note on that. I wasn't expecting Montea Dew to be practicing with the team right now, but I saw her in the mic'd up Becky Burke video. Changes my expectations of the team. Completely changes my expectations of the team. So I'm really excited about that. So
Arizona finished 8th in women's basketball in the Big 12 last year, ahead of Colorado.
Who I've got, Colorado grad, Jalen Sherrod. I got an exclusive interview with later today, so watch out for that if you're a Buffs fan.
Look at you.
I know. I'm really stepping out. It's a busy day, Damon.
That's going to be on PHNX Mercury here on PHNX Sports on YouTube.
Later. No, it'll be on my Twitter at Erica Lee Day with no H, but you can find that anywhere later today. You'll see me yelling about it. I'm very excited.
Of course. Turn Erica's notifications on. A must-have if you are an Arizona Wildcats, if you are a women's basketball fan in general. But not too disastrous. 10-8 in conference. It could be worse.
Could it?
The expectations were high.
They missed the tournament, Damon. I'm sorry, but
yeah, with a team that had a number one recruiting class.
You lost to NAU twice. Like, I can sit here all day and be optimistic. If Kevin was here, I would be super positive about it. But Kevin's not here, so I'm gonna rip my true feelings, and that is unacceptable. We went to the national freaking championship in 2021. You think I've forgotten about that, people? No.
It was very short time ago.
I think, it was basically yesterday. I could throw a rock and land there, and instead here we are, and we didn't even go to the tournament. That's disgusting. So. On to the MNBA though. Carter Bryant. Do you want to talk? We got to talk about Carter's draft fit real quick, right?
Yes, yeah. We'll get Erica's thoughts first on the draft fit, and then we'll use that to kind of bleed into our hard hitting analysis on Carter Bryant's fit with the San Antonio Spurs as a basketball player. But Erica, what were our thoughts? I mean, our guy Carter came out. He did his interviews. He had a brown shirt that matched perfectly with this jacket underneath. And then when it came to the actual time to get up on stage, he said, shoot, let me pop off that undershirt. I'm not wearing a collared shirt underneath here. I'm going just jacket on skin, and I'm showing the 3-pendant chain. What are our thoughts?
Man, I did pop over to the PHNX Suns draft show, and they had Frank the Tank on right when Carter got drafted, and he was giving Carter a hard time for being shirtless. And I was like, man, this sucks. Everyone just
tell Kaminsky to leave us alone.
On him, man, and he looks cool. And then on top of it, he's Carter's big brother and a son of a mother, obviously. And his mom and his daughter, or mom and sisters, crafted the outfit for him from top to bottom. All the, initials on the back of it, the words on the sleeves, everything on the inside of the suit was all designed by his sisters. And as a little sister myself, I couldn't help but tear up a little bit. So I really liked the fit. I know that not everybody was a fan of the shirtless Carter, but I am. And then on top of it, his sisters designed the fit. I mean, you can't dog on the sisters, man. So yeah, I'm a fan of the fit. I think I won't say best draft fit. I really liked his media day fit better. And I texted you guys in the group chat and I'm like, he needs to step out. Dude needs to step out tomorrow. But he kind of stepped down from the media day fit. I thought the brown suit was fly, like with the it fitted him so well. And then the shirtless suit fit him just a little less great, but whatever. It is. I liked it.
It was bold.
Agreed. And, I think like when you're in his position, he only gets one draft night. So I think that's your time to go big or go home. And I much preferred his fit over Cooper Flagg's JCPenney looking suit that he had on. I was texting you guys about his fat tie. Like, what is this, 2007? Like, yeah. I don't know. Respectable. Kevin's like, oh, he's from Maine, Erica. What'd you expect? I don't know. Something better. Like, dude,
that coming from Kevin is that infuriates me because when Cooper Flagg hit that, we were doing our watch along when he hit that, almost half court shot against Arizona in the tournament. And I was like, God, this guy is such a dork. And with his celebration, and then Kevin's like, he's not a dork. He's actually a really cool guy. He actually seems like he's like the coolest. And then now he's like, he's from Maine. Why would you expect him to have a cool draft day fit? And you're like, well, which one is it, Kevin? Is he a dork or is he freaking the coolest guy ever? You can't have it both ways.
I don't know. I just think dork certified. You're going number one, man. Like you have an opportunity to do like really cool things and you instead wear this I'm going to say it, fugly suit. Like, I just think, like, you have an opportunity to come correct, and he missed it. So I hope the Mavs take care of him, get him a stylist real quick, because dude needs the help. They must have, like, only JCPenney's in Maine. I guess that's Kevin's point, is that that's his only option in the whole state of Maine. And I'm like, dude, they've got to yeah. Edgar in the comments says, Cooper, a certified dork. Correct. I 100% agree with that. Saw some people comparing him to the likes of Squidward this morning. Squidward, also a dork. So dorks all the way around.
Got his Brooks Brothers tie on and popped out to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. But I will say, in regards to Edgar's comment about what Frank Kaminsky said earlier, Erica, what you brought up, Frank Kaminsky, great guy. Thank you so much for popping on and helping out with all of our PHNX sports content. Respectfully, from a Will Smith verbal meme, keep my wife's name out your mouth, brother. I don't want that man talking on any Arizona basketball topic. You ruined my childhood.
To be fair, and like, I'm just judging based off of what I was watching, I don't think he even realized who he was. Like, I don't think he realized that he was an Arizona guy at all. He was just like, oh, who's the shirtless guy? I was like, not too much on the shirtless guy.
I need him not speaking on Arizona Wildcats ever.
I'll be sure to let him know to come correct.
And memories, man.
I don't want him to make you mad, so I'll let him know, pass the word to come correct toward Arizona players.
I thought Glenn was getting ready for work, but then he heard about Arizona basketball losing in the tournament, and now he's back in the comments here. Sam Decker and Frank Kaminsky, yeah, two of my dearest enemies for life. But Erica, we talk about the suit and just kind of the aura surrounding Carter Bryant. What does this mean for his NBA career with the San Antonio Spurs?
Well, look, a lot of my media friends are unfortunately ASU people, since my priority or my primary job is to cover oh my gosh, can I make words? The Mercury. So all these people are ASU fans. The amount of text messages I got that Carter Bryant is going to be an NBA champion after he got drafted to the Spurs, insane. Like 15 text messages back to back to back that this guy's looking at a NBA championship down in San Antonio. So I'm excited. I think, it's exactly what they needed. I saw that they needed some help with their defense. I'm hoping that Carter Bryant can bring that for them. Plus, obviously, his shooting we saw it in flashes here at Arizona. It was pretty fantastic. I'm waiting for Damon to get this comeback ready for Glenn, and this is going to be so good. I can't wait. Damon's cooking over there. But no, I think it's a good fit. I honestly would have liked to have him with the Suns, but that's just for home close proximity. I don't think it had anything to do with fit. It's just my own selfish desires to have him staying in Arizona and get to continue like following his career firsthand. But
yeah, you get to watch him in person a little bit.
But
from time to time.
I guess we'll just have to go maybe like have a takeover when the Suns play the Spurs and watch the Spurs beat the Suns. I don't know.
Get Kobe out.
That's what I'm saying.
Erica and Steven, a little trouble in paradise. Steven puts his hand up in the air in anger after Erica says the Spurs will be beating the Suns. But yeah, we need to have Kobe pop out. Did you talk to Kobe, by the way? Is he pumped up? I mean, he's a Spurs fan, right?
I know he's a big Spurs fan, and I'll be honest, that was my primary reason in being bitter at first when the draft pick
you don't
want
to see your close friends
be
happy.
Dude, this sucks, man. Like, this couldn't be worse for me. Like, we get Dylan Brooks here in Phoenix, which I know that the chat here probably isn't gonna be too happy to hear about, but I'm a DB24 stan, and so I was like feeling hopeful that here we go, we're gonna get Dylan Brooks in town, and then we're gonna get Carter Bryant in town, and we're gonna just have two things that Erica can really get behind. And unfortunately, it didn't happen, didn't work out for me, but that's okay. I feel like San Antonio is going to take good care of our Shayla, so I can't be too mad at the fit. And he's not too far. We could still go see him quite frequently. So.
Yeah, and they'll be playing more primetime games in the near future here, and it seems like they got a good thing, kind of in the works in San Antonio. So good landing spot for him. He gets to develop with, his future co-stars in Victor Wembanyama and Dylan Harper, and kind of just, we can truly see what Carter can become in an organization that a lot of people seem to trust from a development standpoint. But we obviously knew about Carter Bryant going to the Spurs as of yesterday. We talked about it all show yesterday. Caleb Love, though, finds his new home in Portland and goes to the Trailblazers. Erica, what were your first thoughts regarding Caleb's decision to sign with the Trailblazers as an undrafted free agent?
Listen, at the end of the day, I was really just excited for Caleb to get an opportunity. I spoke about this earlier in the show, but Caleb was very good to us Arizona fans. And even though I kind of on the surface level, it probably sounds like I kind of crapped on his ISO ball like 10 minutes ago. It's really not the case at all. Like, I would take Caleb Love over any other guard any day of the week, and even why. So, Caleb Love, at the end of the game, when the game's on the line, there's one player that you want the ball in his hands, and it's Caleb Love. He's never afraid of the big shot, never has been. And that's a skill you really can't teach. You can make your shooting percentages better, but when the big lights get turned on, can you, put your confidence aside, and really show out in important moments, and Caleb Love can. So I have expectations that he's going to make a roster. I think he's got an NBA career in him. And so, I'm just excited that Portland gave him his opportunity. I talked to David this morning about it because David's a big Trailblazers fan. So shout out to David about that. He says they're building a strong defensive team. So I'm hoping, Caleb can bring a little bit of edge, some of that gritty boy mentality that he had from last season to the Blazers. So I'm excited. I think it's a W. And again, he's not too far from home. We can still see him come hopefully play the Suns. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great fit just in terms of opportunity. Anthony Simons goes out the door. He obviously had a lot of high volume of shots for the Trailblazers the last few years here as I believe their leading scorer. But that's a guard that took a ton of shots, and now that opens up for the Trailblazers. Now, does that it probably more likely is to try to get Scoot Henderson a little bit more time as the leading dog in that room from a guard standpoint. But at the same time, I think that it does open up just the opportunity for Caleb to maybe be a bench guy. I talked about yesterday with Saul Bookman, I could see a very campaign-esque career for Caleb Love, just a guy who can get hot and a guy that seemingly his teammates all love. That's the thing about Caleb Love is the people that play with him and the people that are around him consistently, they have no bad words to say about this guy. Alonzo Trier, for example, at Arizona, he was, I think you'd both qualify both those guys, Caleb Love, Alonzo Trier, as shot chuckers, right? Those are guys that took a ton of shots and, for better or worse, when it comes to shooting percentages, they were going to get their shots up. Alonzo Trier was despised in the NBA on the New York Knicks. He was despised at U of A by DeAndre Ayton and Rawle Alkins. No one liked him. No one liked playing with him. Caleb Love is the complete opposite of that. And when you might say that, they are, similar types of players just in being volume scorers that are not the most efficient guys. I just think in terms of mentality and the feelings that people have about these guys that they're completely opposite. And I think Caleb Love has a really good shot to make this Portland Trailblazers team. It's a good fit for him just in the fact that there's not a ton in the way of competition. And, maybe there's just kind of that role carved out for him sitting, waiting.
Yeah. And, to your point about everybody liking him, it's not even just that they speak highly of him. It's that they're brought to tears speaking about his character, which as much slander has gone on against Caleb Love's name, it really does say something about how he's able to captivate a locker room that he is in and able to, make everybody trust him when maybe, his shots aren't falling. They're still willing to go to Caleb Love because they know that Caleb Love's got it in him. So I'm really excited. Like I said, I think, like you said, I think he's got a great chance to make the roster, and I'm just hoping that that's the case because I really do think that he has. It's one of those guys to me that once he's in the league, how do you say no to him because of his shot profile? But the best is yet to come for Caleb, in my opinion. So I'm hoping that he has a long, long NBA career ahead of him, and we're talking about this in 5 years. Oh my gosh, Caleb Love, that would be very strange. NBA championship,
Yeah, MNBA championship.
Most improved player, something crazy, throw it all out there. Anything's possible.
The MVP?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
If we're going to go big, might as well go real big.
For sure. And they got Hanson Yang, too. I mean, talk about that summer league combo. Caleb Love times Hanson Yang. I mean, about to make movies. Someone had a tweet here that made me laugh. It was just the classic Kobe Shaq, pan up, and it was just Caleb Love and Hanson Yang in the summer league. But speaking of summer league, Erica, we'd be remiss. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention the Miami Wildcats. The Miami Heat have announced their summer league roster, or I guess not really announced it, but this is what they currently have in the works. They got some talented players, Kasparis Jakucionis, which I'm going to have to work on that pronunciation a little bit more, but Kira Lewis Jr., who was a lottery pick, which I was surprised to see. And then you scroll down and you start seeing more. You see Kellel Ware, start seeing more and more people. How about Pella Larson? How about Kashad Johnson? And how about, not listed here, but added to the list, Umar Ballo? I mean, we got 3 Wildcats from 2 years ago's team suiting up in the summer league for the Miami Heat. It's time, Erica.
Oh, man. Wildcats in the NBA just took on a whole new meaning because, like, at this point, they kind of are the entirety of the Miami Heat summer league team. So, you know, I'm feeling jazzed. Maybe, Damon, you know, I don't really watch them NBA, but I feel like maybe you've gotten me sold on becoming a Miami Heat fan. Maybe.
I mean, we'll see if
the roster's fluid, but
we'll see if Umar Ballo sticks around. But Pella Larson and Kashad Johnson will more than likely be on the team next season. And yeah, I mean, how could you not love it? That part of the reason I was like, deep down, I was like, could Caleb Love sign with the Heat as an undrafted free agent? Because clearly they watch a lot of Arizona basketball. Like, clearly they watch a lot of Arizona basketball. I'm sure when they scouted Pella Larson and Kashad Johnson, that's when they learned about Umar Ballo. And then when he was a free agent in this undrafted period, they were like, yeah, we think this guy's pretty decent. I mean, probably doesn't have NBA chops necessarily, but definitely good enough for summer league.
With a ton of teams before the draft. Like, I saw him with the Suns. I saw him everywhere. So the dude was, you know, getting working and doing everything he could to get his name out there to get signed to a team. So, you know, it's a lot of hard work when you're not one of those like top guaranteed picks and you're trying to get your name out there. So hats off to Umar for getting on a roster. You know, we'll claim him forever. Wildcat for life. For real.
He's more of a Wildcat than anything else, even though he played at Gonzaga.
I would gander that he probably
Indiana.
Does not love to claim Indiana that much right
Probably
now.
not. And it was kind of a disaster season of sorts at Indiana for Umar Ballo, but I agree with you. I mean, I think he's definitely an Arizona Wildcat at the end of the day. It's going to be weird. Like, I feel like there are guys like that in the new transfer portal era where you're like, that dude's a Wildcat. Like, but he technically is going to represent another school. Like, I think of early on in the process, like a Tony Fields. He gets drafted by the Browns in the NFL. And the MNFL, I should say. And, of course, you know, it's like he goes there and it's like West Virginia linebacker Tony Fields. I'm like, well, he played 3 years at Arizona and then 1 year at West Virginia. So,
well, and like even Arizona fans might get mad at me for saying this, but like Kylan Boswell, like I feel like is an Arizona Wildcat. I know that you might disagree, but like, I feel that way. So that's my opinion on that. You know, you can tell me I'm wrong, but
he definitely left his
mark.
His
dude
mark
is still
on
a Tucson regular. Like,
oh, I'm sure
he's there just as much as Adam Sandler. So I mean,
he's got to go to dirt bags.
Maybe
someone's got to keep dirt bags in business.
Hey, not too much on
Forget
dirt bags.
Friday.
Not too much on bags now. Okay, they got a real cheap cheeseburger deal, you know, on Fridays.
Dang.
So, yeah.
Hashtag Forget Friday. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, cool to see the boys teaming up for the Miami Heat. I believe won the Summer League last year, Erica. So looking for back-to-back Summer League championships. Can the Wildcats get the job done? We will find out. It would kind of hurt a little bit, like single elimination bracket tournament, for them to just go out there and win the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's just those three that are the driving force.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like all that time, you know, playing Clemson and losing to them and whatnot prepared us for this moment. And you're just like, oh, cool, that sounds good. Well, at least we lost to Princeton, and you guys could win the Summer League. But yeah, should be fun to watch. I'll be tuning in for sure.
They needed that adversity so they could get to this point in their career. You know?
Yeah,
I know you hate it, but you know it happens to the worst of us.
Yeah, it sure does, Erica. But one quick thing before we move on to WNBA talk that, of course, we have to hit on if our girl Erica Day is in. But just wanted to say Texas State to the Pac-12. News that came out yesterday. Pretty interesting, I think. I don't know if you felt similarly, Erica, but like when I would play like video games, like the college football video game back in the day, and I'd scroll past Texas State and I'd think to myself, it is pretty weird that Texas State is not like a bigger school than it is, right? Like you would almost think that like in a massive state like Texas that has so many state schools, that the school Texas State would be like kind of a big time football school and would be, you know, somewhat of like a rival to Texas and whatnot, but they're just, obviously they've been at a much smaller scale. now they're looking to go to the Pac-12, and they kind of are the Texas representation in the Pac-12 at the next level. Just a really interesting combination, I feel like.
Yeah, I love that for the Jaden DeLora just needs to be in the Pac-12, you know?
Well,
So-
didn't he ended up not going there, right?
Yeah, but it's still funny to me. So we're gonna
he's a
enact
Texas
it.
State legend.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, like that's a good word for it, you know, because like I didn't say good legend. You know, he just is a myth around campus that once was. So I like it. One thing about my household, we are a pro Pac-12 household. You know, if there's any Pac-12 players in the WNBA, NBA, it doesn't really matter. I'm rooting for them. And I'm still rooting for the Pac-12 to have a resurgence that's worthy of something good.
Me too,
So,
actually.
You know, I know it does stink for us. Like, I truly believe that. Like, I think that, not that I think the Big 12 is a worse home or anything like that, but I loved the Pac-12.
It's not as cool as being in the Pac-12.
Right.
There was a different, and I know this term sucks. Like we say it way too much, but there literally was a different aura of being in the Pac-12. There's historic collegiate teams in that conference: USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal. Both the Oregon schools, great rivalry. The Washington schools have a great rivalry, and with the Oregon schools, and then you added in Arizona State for the last 50 years of the conference. Like it was special, man.
Well,
and they ripped it from us.
Honestly, I wasn't even like feeling that type of way about the Big 12 until Arizona women's basketball had to go play UCF, and they had to take a like commercial flight there
to Orlando,
which is across the entirety of the United States of America. Like I'm not
West Virginia, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I mean, those are far flights.
Right. And so, I saw what it did. Arizona almost lost to UCF, which would have had me, I think they played like Thanksgiving weekend or something like that. I was visiting my family, and my family was freaking out at the thought of Arizona losing to UCF, because I would have probably not shut up about it the entirety of the weekend. So they were just #blessed that Arizona walked away with a W so they could forget about it. But yeah, that road trip was sickening. And to think about like football trying to do that with their massive amounts of people, it just sounds egregious. So
yeah, I mean, when you think about the conference as a whole, and like I don't want to sound like a snob here and like do the whole truck stop thing, but it's the truth in a way. Like you go from Seattle, Los Angeles, Eugene, to now all of a sudden, the best schools from a location standpoint, at least I think for visiting purposes, are pretty much the schools that joined the Big 12 from the Pac-12. It's Boulder, it's Salt Lake City, it's Tempe, it's Tucson. And then you could throw in like an Orlando, because they obviously have all the theme parks and everything. But for the most part, like people aren't going out of their way, other than for college sports, to go to Morgantown or, Waco or Lubbock. Like those are truck stop towns for a reason, and they're not necessarily destinations. Whereas like the Pac-12 was very much like, oh, let's go. We're playing Washington at Washington. Let's go to Seattle for a week and hang out. Like that sounds so fun. Whereas like you just lose that completely going to the Big 12, and that part of things really sucks from my perspective. I loved having really cool locations to travel to, great rivalries that had a lot of history, and you kind of get that erased from you. But Erica, I did want to just bring up the new look Pac-12 here, and I got this graphic from Beaver Swag on Twitter at Real Beaver Swag. I mean, shout
out to Beaver Swag.
What an absolute gauntlet of a conference,
dude!
Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Gonzaga, Oregon State, San Diego State, Texas State, Utah State, and Washington State.
It's a great conference, and it's going to keep the legend of Pac. Yeah, absolutely fun. I absolutely hate the Boise State blue field, so I hope the Pac-12 like implements some rule about that, because it's absolutely disgusting.
Well, Oregon got to keep their court forever, so I highly, highly doubt that that's something the Pac-12 would regulate.
Don't you think they may have learned their lesson?
The most disgusting court of all time.
Right. So if they allowed that, I feel like they must learn their lesson and move forward with banning the blue field. I feel like that's very important in order for the Pac-12 to continue to succeed.
Erica, we're going to finish this conversation in overtime, and I'm going to ask you a little bit about some WNBA happenings. Let's get to it.
Bark, 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 bark.
Erica is not on screen.
Oh, no.
Now she is.
I'm back.
Shout out Erica for her work with PHNX Mercury. We got to get into a little bit of WNBA talk because our girl, Aari McDonald, is back, Erica, in the W. And she, of course, big time kind of news, I feel like, because the Fever have somewhat become like the team of WNBA talk, due to Caitlin Clark and whatnot. But it's almost like Chiefs-esque in a way, I feel like, right now, where it's like, yeah, it's kind of a small market team, but every single thing that happens is front page news.
Yep.
And it's good for the league, I would argue, in the long run. But you have DeWanna Bonner, who, is a legend. What's the smile about?
You know what the smile is about, Damon. It almost came out of your mouth.
I just wanted you to verbalize it. DeWanna Bonner, WNBA legend, I believe 2-time champ.
Hey, she was drafted to the Phoenix Mercury. Yeah, so just so you know.
And
Phoenix legend.
And maybe on her way back, right, to Merc Nation.
Well, and this is where things get a little bit interesting. So DeWanna obviously parted ways with the Fever on Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and she had to clear 48-hour waivers in order for another team to pick her up, and other teams were warned to not pick her up on waivers because she didn't want to go anywhere other than Phoenix. And interestingly enough, 3 days ago, Phoenix had the cap space for her to come on the team. I actually haven't looked because they made a roster change on yesterday. They signed I'm going to be talking about 2021 a lot in the next 5 minutes. So I apologize if you don't like time traveling, but I'm about to take you back here because, first of all,
that's all we have.
I know it's tough. But yeah, DeWanna Bonner leaves.
Was
Indiana
that the time
Fever.
machine?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But the DeWanna Bonner gets let go of from the Indiana Fever, and then very, very quickly later, Aari McDonald was signed back, and it's very interesting because, to my point, actually, the last time I was on this show, I literally said that, oh yeah, Aari is ignoring people's phone calls. There is no way that is not the truth because of how well she played in her short stint in Indiana, and guards are just like, they're a hot commodity right now. Everyone needs a point guard, or you're good at basketball. Those are the two routes that you are on a WNBA team right now. And so, yeah, Aari was picked up. Aari is a much needed fit for that team, especially considering Caitlin Clark's injury. She got a left groin injury that's caused her quite a bit of in and outage for the Fever, and it's caused a lot of, honestly, it would be like trying to play basketball last year, 7 games in a row without Caleb Love. If you're Arizona basketball, like, it becomes a lot harder because you're really used to playing so much through Caleb, like,
for sure.
And so Caitlin
Clark is the offense,
right? And like everything slows down without Caitlin, and so Aari does help to kind of fill that gap in a way because she's so fast. She can use her size to her advantage in a lot of places in the WNBA because she is so small. She fits under places that a lot of people maybe didn't. And so I think the fit is a really good fit for what the Fever needs right this current moment. What it looks like when Caitlin Clark comes back is honestly my bigger question because, Caitlin does have the ball in her hands so much. So I'm interested to see if they'll play on the floor together at the same time ever. And if so, what that looks like. If Caitlin turns into a true shooting guard, I think it would honestly benefit their team sometimes. But, to my own point, like, their offense is Caitlin Clark. So whether or not they change that up is yet to be seen. But I don't think we can expect DeWanna Bonner back here in Phoenix, but the reason we're talking about all of this today, people, I'm the host of DLLS Wings podcast. I don't know if you guys knew this, but we got people in Dallas, Denver, freaking Chicago. Where don't we have people? And I cover Paige Beckers now, and I don't know if you know this, but in 2021, our very own Aari McDonald gave Paige Beckers a real run for her money, and so much so that Paige Beckers ran back to the bank and had to wait to come back to the national championship for quite a few if I do say so myself. So yeah, it's a rematch between Paige Beckers and Aari McDonald tonight. Aari McDonald is not going to be the starting point guard for the Indiana Fever. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I wish I could be the bearer of great news about this, but I just don't think that's going to be possible. No, Edgar, she should not. That's going to be the only answer I have to that question. But also, no, I do anticipate some significant minutes of Aari on Paige. So if you did watch that 2021 national title run, like, I urge you to turn on your TV to Ion tonight to watch this game.
Goosebumps,
Like,
Erica.
Man, I'm a little bitter that I'm gonna be at Mercury game because I'm not gonna be able to fully like give this game my full undivided attention. It kind of stinks
You're
for
gonna have
me.
to pull an SPG and record it.
Oh no, it's done. It's already set up. Fun fact: my TV records every single WNBA team.
Wow.
So, shout out to there only being 13 teams, or else my DVR would just be packed jam full. So, I'm thankful for that, in I guess in a few ways. But yeah, I'm excited for this matchup tonight. I think I'll be honest, I do believe it's going to be the Paige Beckers revenge game on Aari McDonald, but I think Aari McDonald will play a good, fun game. I'm just praying and hoping to God that these dang reporters in Dallas do their due diligence and ask them about the 2021 national championship and about the rematch. This is a great television moment, like fantastic. And
Is there any DLS blueprint out there? Is there going to be any boots on the ground?
No, lots of them actually. So I'm super excited. They're gonna have tons of people there in person.
Then we need to task someone from DLS with asking said question for us.
I told them explicitly today. I'm like, you guys have one job.
Yeah.
Don't make me angry. Okay.
Ask both of them. I want to know both of their thoughts on playing each other again.
No, seriously.
And I want to make a YouTube short on PHNX gosh darn sports about it, Erica. But getting to Aari's fit with the Fever, I know I'm speaking from a much more vanilla WNBA knowledge base than you are, but it does strike me, at least from outside perspective, that Caitlin Clark is a little bit more of a, kind of let the game come to her. If you give her an inch from a passing lane standpoint, she's going to take it. A little bit more methodical and like screens being set for her. Whereas Aari is very much like I'm gonna put my head down and sprint full steam at the basket, and you're probably gonna foul me or I'm gonna get by you. It seems like those two styles can really mash up well together, whether they're on the floor or off the floor. Because when you take Caitlin Clark off the floor, and we talked about this with Tyrese Halliburton and TJ McConnell, where like LeBron was like, they take Tyrese Halliburton out and you think like, oh, it's about to get easy. And then you see this little white guy and TJ McConnell, run out there and you're like, oh my God, like this guy's picking us up, the full 90 feet. Like, this is insane. This guy's a crazy person. And I feel like Aari can provide some of that, just being kind of an off-ball pest defensively, switching up the style from what Caitlin does really well. And just like you might think that you're going to have it a little easier with Caitlin Clark off the floor until Aari McDonald runs 100 miles per hour at you and you got to keep up with her. And now that is an extremely, extremely effective yin and yang that they have going on with the Fever.
Yeah, and the biggest piece to me personally is the defensive energy that Aari brings. Aari's always proven to be a good on-ball defender. And so I think that like the Fever need help and honestly just a connector on the defensive end. And so even if Aari's on the bench, like I see her being a vocal leader on the team. Of all the people that are on the team, like they've got Lexi Hull, who was also playing in that 2021 Final Four national championship run with Stanford. Aaliyah Boston, who was 2023 number 1 overall pick. Caitlin Clark, who's obviously pretty young. Sophie Cunningham, who is one of the oldest players on their team, is only in year 8 of her career. Like, so I think there's a lot to be said about her.
That's Unk.
Right. Yeah. And like you got Natasha Howard, but like, I don't really want to dog on Natasha Howard too much, but do you know who Natasha Howard is, Damon Dog?
The name is very familiar.
You didn't. You were actually supposed to say no. So because that's
no.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely the point, man.
Who the hell is that,
dude? And like she's a great player. And like if Steven heard me say this, he might kick me off of my own podcast. But nonetheless, like, you know, not exactly the biggest offensive threat. So I'm excited that, you know, Aari has an opportunity. She got kind of passed around last year from team to team, and Kurt Miller seemed to really believe in her in LA. So I was kind of crushed for her when Kurt left ultimately to go to Dallas, where we kind of knew how the cards were going to lay out with Paige Beckers coming to town. So, you know, I knew her opportunity in Dallas wasn't exactly going to come out of thin air. So I'm glad that the Fever's need has shown itself in such a way where it's blatant. You know, those fans know they need a backup point guard who can play defense. So they found it in her, and she's got a great opportunity. Rest of season contract. I don't think there's any reason we should see a tweet and come 2 weeks from now where it says Aari McDonald has been waived by the Fever. I don't think there's a world where that happens. Like, the buy-in is there from her, so I just think it's on her to continue to do her job, and that's just come in and do the bare minimum as far as on-ball defense and put in some pressure on the offense. So I'm excited for what's to come for the Fever. I hope they lose tonight versus the Dallas Wings, but that's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, Erica, I got fever.
Disgusting.
God, I love this franchise.
They have an enemy out of me.
If Aari's going to be on the team, I'm going to be, you know, painting my body navy blue, red, and yellow.
Did you just have to Google those colors? Make sure you were right?
No, I know women's hoops like that. I know W.
Just not too much, man. Not too much. I don't know if you can see my nails, but they're purple and orange, dog.
What team is that?
Don't disgust me. The local team here who's going to give us a parade come September.
We are Merc Nation.
Yeah.
I'll be at the parade, Erica. Probably doing some content for it. How freaking electric would it be to do some like man on the street championship parade level content? We need that.
We haven't talked about the fact that they could, you know, they have an opportunity to do the funniest thing of all time. And what's it called when you lead the parade? You're like something, there's like a word for it. I don't know. Hold on. Parade leader. It's like a... Never mind. They need to let me be the parade leader, though. It's like the... They talk about it for the Thanksgiving Day parade and Grand Marshal. Thank you, David Veenstra.
Grand Marshal.
My Lord and Savior, David Veenstra.
David's too damn smart,
He's so clutch, man. Grand Marshal. They need to let me Grand Marshal the damn parade. And then, boom. And then you're just following me with the camera. Kevin's following me with the thunder sticks. Yeah. And Steven's got the basketball behind us, you know?
Totally.
The story writes itself, man.
That's special. That is absolutely special. Of course. Erica, what do you got going on in the near future here that people can tune into?
Later today, PHNX Mercury, the Mercury's taking on the New York Liberty. So rematch. The Mercury beat the Liberty in their house about a week and 9 days ago or so, maybe a week. I don't know.
And that's when the Merc truly were like, you know what? We're contenders. We're going to go into the Liberty's house and we're going to snatch their chain after back-to-back losses for the Liberty, I believe, right?
Yep. And nasty work, if I do say so myself. And honestly, if the Liberty keep doing their due diligence and losing, then my agenda becomes that much more possible. I need Nate Tibbetts, the head coach of the Phoenix Mercury, to be coaching at All-Star. So I need the Liberty to lose tonight. So in that case, I need the Mercury to win tonight. So very clear-cut expectations for what I wanted out of my Mercury squad. You can find me doing the podcast later today. We're going to have a post-game show following, hopefully, the Mercury W. If not, you'll just have a very depressed Erica who, you know will have to hear cry. So I don't think anyone wants that. But until then, you can follow me on Twitter at Erica Lee Day.
Heck yeah, Erica Lee Day. No H in that. That is Erica with a K-L-E-A Day at the end of it. Give her a follow. Erica, we appreciate you hopping on with us today and talking a little bit of Arizona Wildcats, Arizona athletics. I am at Damon Dog. You can follow me at Damon DAWG. And of course, you can follow our account at PHNX_Wildcats. We'll be back on a Monday. What's going to be a Justin Spears Monday on the AZ Wildcats show.
Damon, have you told the people about the Instagram?
About our Instagram?
Yeah, dude. What the heck?
I actually, you know what? We have not done enough self-promotion in regards to our Instagram. I'm trying to take that up a notch. Our social person, Emma, has been doing an absolutely phenomenal job uploading more and more U of A content to our Instagram, PHNX_Wildcats on Instagram. We got all types of Carter Bryant content, Caleb Love content on that channel right now. And so go check that out at PHNX_Wildcats on both X.com and Instagram.com. So please follow both of those accounts. Does us a lot of favors. And of course, like this video if you haven't done so already. A little bit light in the likes today. Please let's up that number so my guy Kevin can enjoy his vacation in Atlanta. Otherwise, he's going to be texting me frantically. Oh my God, why did we not get our like goal today? That's just how much Kevin loves it. That's how much Kevin cares. Kevin will be back on Wednesday. We'll have Justin Spears on Monday. We'll have Saul Bookman on Tuesday. Appreciate everybody for rocking with us this week. We'll be back at 2 p.m. Drop a like on this video. But until next time, until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cat.
We all silly like the mayor.